Gana Gana Salakaya Chaksurun Minitam Yanatashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Atab Sri Rupam Sagatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sidevam Sadvaitam Savidutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Shta Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Shami Tanamane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Vishesa Sanyavadi Praskata Desarani Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Sarito Pango Mama Miner Matir Gati Matsava Shipadam Boja Radha Namadan Mohanam Sriman Rasarasaram Vik Vamsi Badataram Karsan Beno Shanepako Gopanata Sri Esaraham Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Radnagada Sima Sanishto Sri Sira Shila Govinda Prasadavihi Seva Manushmarami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanitaya Chajikaritaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Gudhajaja Mangalam Paririkaksha Mangarayatanu Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasadevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Vidmahi Vishnu Padnichidhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastuvyam Namastuvyam Saresari Hari Pare Namastuvyam Namastuvyam Tapta Kanchana Gaurangir Hari Vindavaneshwari Vishavanusute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning. Motivational Monday, Gajendra Lila, part 89. I think our previous record was 24. That was with Ambarish and Durvasa. For 89. We're just getting started. Good morning, John Malik, Brent, Lakshmi Nashringa, Govinda Dev, and anyone who's yet to come. And of course, Rob over here on Zoom. I had an exciting weekend. You might want to hear something about it. I had gotten a invitation to go to Phoenix Rath Yatra. It's several years they've had it. I know that the devotees that I was staying with referenced 2016, 2017. I concluded they've had it for over 10 years. Mostly they've had it in May. However, last year, 2023, it was very hot in May. They decided to move it up a little bit to February to avoid the hot weather. But then the forecast was rain all day long, which changed. It changed a couple days before. Forecasted rain in the morning and sunny in the afternoon. As it happened, they're really at the festival site where I was staying, about half an hour away with Mayapur and his family. It was raining and overcast, drizzling in the morning when we left. But at the site, Seal Indian Park, there was no rain, even in the morning. The parade started around 10:30 or so from the parking lot there, went out a mile. I forget what road it was, a really wide boulevard. Police were blocking cross traffic, went about a mile, turned around and came back. I participated in the whole parade. Many of the youth from Phoenix were chanting kirtan. First, the ladies, the young girls, teenage girls, chanting mostly on the way out. And then on the way back, it was the men, all young, beautiful, beautiful kirtaniyas, men and women. And when we got back to the park, there was a bit of a drama because of the prediction of rain. They moved the site from a grassy area of the park to a paved area of the park. They thought if it rained, it'd be better to be pavement than be on grass, which can turn muddy. But in the previous area of the park, there was an electrical plug-in for the sound system. Nobody thought of the fact that at our new location, everybody assumed that there would be a plug-in, but they found out on the morning of the festival there wasn't any electricity there. So somebody had to go out and get a generator at Home Depot, but they couldn't get back then because of the traffic there's a big golf tournament in Phoenix, and as I mentioned, the traffic was blocked off by our own festival. So the parade arrived, and the stage program was supposed to start at 1 o'clock. These same youth that had chanted during the Rath Yatra were all on stage, ready to do kirtan. There was no generators, no power. Everybody was frantically talking back and forth. The guy who was bringing the generators, I can't get through. Well, about 2 minutes before 1 o'clock, the generator arrived. So, whew, Krishna he loves to play pranks. He loves to keep you in suspense. Nothing's normal in Krishna's world. Everything has to do with transferring your faith and your trust on him. Speaking of transferring faith and trust for our own upcoming Festival of Colors, which is only about 6 weeks away, the police had made it a condition of our permit that we get, I think I might have mentioned this before, 2 parking spots for every attendee. We're estimating 4,000 people at the peak. And by the requirements of police there'd have to be 2,000 parking spots. Last year we had 2,500 parking spots. Not only do we have to give a map where the fields and the parking is, but we have to have signed agreements with the property owners as well. Bye was working on it the last 2 weeks. And last year we got 2,500 without any problem. But this year developers have bought up some of the largest pieces of field that the neighbors used to use to park people on and charge, of course, $5. So whereas last year we got 2,500 with very little effort. This year she was only able to get about 1,200 with signatures. But there's a big field. It's going to be developed. They're already putting electricity and everything, but it's still just a field, and it will be a field. And the festival just behind us, a huge place, hold 900 cars. We didn't really expect that the developer would give us permission, but he did agree. We're meeting with him tomorrow. We'll get the formal agreement. And honestly, for a while there, I was thinking, I don't see a way, but I know Krishna has a way. I don't see a way, but I know Krishna has a way. When we came here in 1981, all around us just open fields. Now that's hardly the case. The open fields are the exception rather than the rule. Next year, we might have to revert to an entirely different system where we park people at a high school parking lot, fairgrounds, and bus them in. But anyway, Krishna came through with that piece of land in the back. Krishna came through with the generator. Krishna always comes through. He always comes through. Sometimes he tests us a little bit, creates a little bit of attention. Thanks for joining us, Bhai Bhavi. Namrita Das as well. Everybody asked about Bhai Bhavi in Phoenix, and some of our old friends came up and said hello. Neelam Jaishwal, she and her husband Hitesh had lived in Salt Lake City for many years. They're good friends of Yogi and Pragna Shah, who also moved away to Texas. And Neelam came up, and I didn't see her face at first because she's very devoted. She's very religious. She just lay flat on the ground. I'm walking, I'm talking to somebody else, and all I look down, there's this lady with a sari flat on the ground, grabbing my feet. And then she got up. She said, "You know who I am?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah. Tell me again." Neelam and Hitesh. Oh my gosh, we were very good friends when they lived in Salt Lake City, but it's quite a while ago. They've been in Phoenix. They bought a motel in Phoenix, and they've been down there for 20 plus years. But I used to go to their home in Salt Lake City. I performed ceremonies, housewarming ceremonies and everything. They were good friends. I was glad to reconnect with them. Then one of the performers, one of the dance groups was Kriti Agarwal. She's an old friend. She and her sister Purvi, many years ago, again, we're talking 15 years ago, they both went to BYU, got their undergraduate degrees at BYU. And while they were both at BYU for our annual Festival of India, which in a sense was Ram Lila, they would play, Kriti, the older sister, would play Kaikeyi in the Ramayana, and her younger sister Purvi would play Sita. She married another BYU student named Raj. They moved to Phoenix. I think she has 2 kids, and she has a very active dance group down there. They perform sometimes for the halftime show, the Phoenix Suns. It was nice seeing her. Then there were other devotees who had been to Utah for the sadhu song. There were other devotees that listened. Quite a few actually mentioned they listened to these Bhagavatam classes Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That was great. They asked me to give the Bhagavatam class on Sunday morning. It was on Bali and Bambanade Lila. I was only happy to do it. I had never met the president down there, Prema Datri, a wonderful Gujarati lady, and her husband, Radha Madhava. Wonderful, wonderful people. We got to be new best friends. And I think I have to say also that my coming there was helpful. Here's what I tell people. Here's what I tell people. You have a big festival. You have beautiful dance, Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Mohiniyattam, all displaying, reenacting a way of worshiping Krishna and his pastimes and his devotees. You have prasadam, sanctified, holy prasadam, offered to Lord Jagannath, the Lord of the universe. You have the parade, which involves a lot of chanting, a lot of kirtan, a lot of mahamantra. You have more kirtan on stage. You have exhibits. They had a japa booth. They had all kinds of. It was a very, very, very nice setup. But you know what I noticed in a number of festivals, it's a cultural presentation with dance, with chanting, with prasadam. Dance is preaching, prasadam is preaching, of course, chanting is preaching, but all too often there isn't any of this kind of preaching. The kind of preaching that comes from your mouth. My experience and my prejudice, and I'm obviously biased, is that you can't really have a complete festival. You can't really present a well-rounded international society for Krishna consciousness to an audience. You cannot familiarize new people, first-time comers, completely with ISKCON unless you have a good MC, unless you have a preacher there. And of course, the preaching can't be hardline. It can't be too in-house. It has to be relevant and appreciable and relatable to the people that come. So here's where the Charufi comes in. And, having emceed festivals since, gosh, 1980 and evolved over the years through all those experiences to poeticize the Krishna conscious truths. What used to be called poetry nowadays is called rap when you put it by music. So anyway, long story short, there were two MCs, very nice lady. One name was Molly and her friend. They had been MCing for many years. They arranged all the dance programs. They did a very good job, but English wasn't, the language they're necessarily glib with. A lot of descriptions were read kind of from the phone. And I think at first there was some apprehension that I might be stepping on some toes or infringing. But it only took a few minutes before we were just getting along like best buds, the three of us. We were passing the baton one to another. And I like to say, introducing a good element of preaching. One of the things that I wanted to do was start off things with Ganesh, but I wasn't sure how that works out with the Jagannath Chariot Festival. So I did some research and I found the Ganesh connection. Ganesh is always invoked, even among Vaishnavas. Some Vaishnavas, they say, well, Vishaksena, the general among demigods, can be invoked instead of Ganesh. And yet, if you go to the Krishna temple in Tirupati, if you go to the Krishna temple in Udupi, there's Ganesh there. Ganesh is always there. He's just always there. And he always is invoked in the beginning of functions. So I want to do my Ganesh presentation. And, frankly, I needed a pretext to do it. So I looked up, I Googled Ganesh and Jagannath, and sure enough, there it was. The Jagannath Rath Yatra Festival begins two weeks before the actual public parade. It begins with Lord Jagannath being bathed massively. All kinds of people are invited to come forward and bathe him with panchamrita, sugar water, yogurt, ghee, butter, honey, all these things. And after the Lord is bathed, he's dried off, and he presents himself once more to the public for the last time before he catches cold and goes into seclusion for 2 weeks. No one can see him. Part of the ecstasy of devotees at the Jagannath Chariot Festival is that they haven't seen their Lord for 2 weeks. He's been secluded while he recovers from his ailment. And on the Rath Yatra day, any of us who've had the flu or a cold had to go into our bedroom in seclusion for a few days know that when you're feeling better, the first thing you want to do is get some sunshine, get some fresh air, go for a walk, get a little bit of exercise after having been cloistered. That desire that we have in our part originates in God. He's the source from which everything comes. So God himself, when he gets cured, he likes to go on an expedition, chariot festival. Anyway, backing up once again, he gets bathed, and before he gets the cold, he actually comes down with the cold. He appears after the bathing once more before his devotees. And guess how he's dressed? Yes, he's dressed as Ganesh. He's dressed as Ganesh. So I was able to start everything. And many of the dance programs also started with Ganesh. So the stage program had been just one dance after another, and every dance was sublime, beautiful, well done. But, dance after dance after dance after dance after dance with nothing else going on can be, you can lose the attention of people, except for the parents, of course, who are going to watch their children dance. But we had a good balance. We had 2 dances, then I would come on. A couple of dances, I would come on. I would do a song about karma, or I would do a song about Krishna playing his flute, or I would do a song about the Shiksha Stasam, Krishna chanting his name. After Ganesh, then you have to do a Shiva song and explain how Lord Shiva is a great devotee of Krishna. It was a nice cadence. The 3 of us who were emceeing got along really famously, got to be good friends. I got to meet the temple president there, and pretty much everybody was saying to me, we got to have you we got to have you back. We got to have you back next year. And nothing could have pleased me more. I was glad to have gone and helped out. Now, one thing that was really exciting to me is I'm 77. I could expire tomorrow. At best, I'll be around for just a few more years. But as I'm rapping, Ganesh is so fresh, chilling on his throne, surrounded by incense, fruits, and gold, heaps of sweets piled up in his bowl, guard the gate. A lot of young people in the Phoenix Temple, not only young people who are 15, 16 years old who have grown up their entire lives in Krishna consciousness, but young kids also. And there were many of those young people sitting on the front 3 or 4 rows out there in the audience. And when this old guy, 77-year-old guy, got up there and started rapping, I could see the kids like, whoa, what is this? What's going on here? And they're starting to bob their heads, tap their foot, chap. And I could tell there were seeds being planted. Some of them were imagining themselves in 2 or 3 years' time when Caru creates a vacuum with his demise. I believe, I had the sense, and of course the hope, that some of those people would see this niche, which is waiting there for any up and comer, start composing poems, putting music to them, giving them a Krishna conscious meaning, and then coming, practicing. Nothing happens without a lot of practice, a lot of rehearsal. Create those grooves in your mind so it comes unconsciously, automatically, without even thinking about it. So I hope, my main ambition at my age is not so much to do things myself. I'm not going to start new things. When COVID came, we were full on with festivals, colors in 3 different states. We had done the Festival of Indie here for 37 years. COVID was just like kind of a wake-up call. COVID lasted for a couple of years. Everything was put on hold. I went from, I don't know, 72 to 75. And the message that COVID gave to me as I read it was don't don't restart things, don't start new things so much that involve a lot of management, a lot of travel. Obviously, the whole career of rapping and presenting poems before the public was a new thing, but it's something I could do at home and something I could do personally. It didn't involve trucks and travel and permits and all this stress. And so, I thought the best thing I could do in the autumnal years of my life is to travel to other festivals which I did not organize. Somebody else, somebody younger, organized them, but I would travel to them, do what I'm doing, and try to inspire the young people to take up this service so that when I'm leave a vacuum, there are any number of young people who are willing to step into it. And I believe there's uh, a huge path forward, a wide boulevard, a 4-lane highway forward for those who preach with their mouths. Singing is preaching, preparing and serving and honoring prasadam is preaching, beautifully, gracefully, depicting and honoring the Lord by dancing his pastimes is preaching. But there'll never be enough. In fact, I think right now, for those who can, with panache, present for the audience, there'll never be enough of those who can communicate verbally, articulately, and relevantly, according to the time, place, and circumstances of the audience. That's what I feel is my strong point. I remember a devotee. He's in his 60s too. He's Afro-American devotee, Govinda Dat. He told me once that he came to the LA Rath Yatra. He wasn't a devotee. He just happened to be there the day that the LA Rath Yatra Festival was there, and I had been emceeing on stage. And he said, "True, I listened to you that day, and I thought this Krishna Kanya is so simple that even a rock could understand." So hopefully I made a contributor. Oh, and by the way, while I was there, the Tucson devotees came up and they said, "Caru, we're having Shiva Ratri in Tucson on May the 9th, March the 9th. You got to come. You got to come." And there's an old friend of mine who performed every year at our color festival in Las Vegas. Her name is Chandini. She's English and she's now based in Tucson. She's a dancer and she's a yoga teacher. So Chandini suggested that we collaborate. I send her the music, the lyrics, and then she'll put together dance accompaniment so that we'll not only have the music and the lyrics, but we'll have dance going on at the same time. So look for that at ISKCON Tucson on March the 9th. And if you like more information and some visuals about the Phoenix Rath Yatra, you can do two things. You can go to ISKCON Phoenix. There's one photo gallery there that has over 200 pictures of the parade. And then there's some other galleries that have a dozen or 2 dozen pictures of the festival after. I went through all of those and took maybe, I don't know, a dozen of the best pictures, and I posted them also. So you can go to ISKCON Phoenix to get all the pictures and all the videos, or you can just go to Caru, Utah, which is actually, we're broadcasting on that through Facebook now, and get the ones that I picked as well. All right, we've had a few more people joining us. By Bobby, Namamrita, Govinda Dev, Divya Joshi, Brent, who gave a wonderful Sunday feast in my absence. He gave a Sunday feast class yesterday. To go to Phoenix, I was able to fly out from Provo, which is a real convenience. To go round trip to Salt Lake City International Airport is 130 miles. And you have to park your car there at $12 a day. Provo is only 8 miles away, and Provo has flights to Phoenix, Chicago, Orlando, more and more has connection. What a relief just to go over to Provo, fly out, come back. And I came back to Provo. A car was there in the lot. I arrived just about the time the RT was over. People were coming downstairs. I stood at the bottom of the stairs. As it so happened, there were a teacher, I forget what his name was, Rick. He teaches at the Orem Institute, which is right next to Utah Valley University, which is where Brent also teaches. And he brought quite a few people from UVU to experience the service. And I was able to stand at the bottom of the stairs, having just arrived from Phoenix. And I started asking people, how was it? How was the talk? And everybody very enthusiastically said it was great. It was great. It was great. In fact, their praise for Brent was so high, I got a little, I was thinking, wait, nobody says that about my talks. I'll give a talk that I think is pretty good. No one will say a word. I'll go down, I'll go to every table. I'll ask you have any questions. I'll talk for half an hour. And, I mean, of course, quite often people do say something, but as often as not, nobody will say a word. I got a little jealous, in fact, of you, Brent. Everybody was gushing. They were really, really impressed and edified by your talk. So thank you very much for, one of the reasons that Brent is a good speaker is because he listens. I don't think he's ever missed any of our Monday, Wednesday, and Friday talks. He hasn't missed a Sunday feast talk. He's there with his ears wide open. I've even had notes from him that he's listening when he's in Bolivia, when he's in India, he's listening. You cannot be a good speaker unless you're a good listener. Prabhupada tells that famous story about Bhaktisiddhanta. Every year they'd have Vrindavan Parikram. His disciples would gather in the hundreds in Vrindavan for several weeks. Every day he would take them out to a different place and preach. Just much as the same. Indradumna Swami, Dina Bandhu, many devotees do that today. But one day they were going to a special place. And Bhaktisiddhanta himself said, I'm not going to accompany the Parikram group today. But you can go to this special holy place where Krishna ate the pastime. He said, I'm going to stay back today and give a talk. And everybody was given a choice to go to the Parikram, to see a new place they hadn't seen before, put some sacred water on their heads, take some dust, listen to another God brother explain, do some kirtan, or stay back and listen to Bhaktisiddhanta. Prabhupada chose to listen rather than to tour, to listen, to stay rather than to travel. And privately, Bhaktisiddhanta commended on him. He said, this boy is very serious about hearing. He likes to listen. The secret of success in spiritual life is to please the spiritual master. So I know that Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta are very pleased by Brent's intense desire to hear. And in that connection, he won't be here the next couple of weeks. He's going off to India on a yatra with his hopefully future guru Vaisheshika. We'll say goodbye to him and wish him. And then later on in May, he's taking a UVU group with the Studies Abroad program to go up on an eco village. Anyway, thank you, Brent. And I'm noticing he has a comment here. Sometimes you have to rap about an elephant to make the message relevant. He's joined by William Griffith from Los Angeles, Priya Krishna, I think from New York. We've got a quite happy crew this morning. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. So what about Gajendra? Let's reset, and I'll do the Gajendra poem for you. And then we'll spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about it. That'll be it for Motivational Monday. Let's reset. Gajendra, king of elephants, was sporting on a heavenly planet. He was courting with his wives in a lotus-filled lake, cavorting in the water. He'd snorted some honey with his trunk, and he was quite drunk. Crocodile latched onto his leg with his jaw, and though he stamped, trampled, and stampeded, he couldn't get the croc to withdraw. In this tug of war, Gajendra was losing the fight to stay upright. being dragged further from the shore, and his famous strength was flagging. Lacking the backing of the other pachyderms, Gajendra was alone in this danger zone. The water had turned to foam. His friends had flown. There was no one to phone. Devoid of his fabled strength, at the end of his rope's length, Gajendra's hopes turned to the Lord, who awards protection to his devotees. He stopped pulling on his leg, which the crocodile wanted to devour, and he plucked with his trunk a lotus flower from the muck of the lake and offered it, seeking the Lord's power. He said, Krishna, root of the creation, fruit of the Vedas, absolute truth, plays in your flute, ever-existing youth. Your lotus feet are adored by Lord Brahma and Shiva, who never leave you, not even for a beat. Your features are unlimited. You're the ingredients of all creatures, whether they have hands, claws, jaws, or paws. They're all your parts and parcels. Those who are smart engage in your devotional service with all their hearts. You guard those who never depart from the hearth of your sheltering breast. Lord, I confess I've messed up, repressed my service, failed the test, but I'm thirsty for your mercy, which is greater than any of my mistakes. I've heard that all it takes to awaken your protection is a single cry of helpless affection. Lord, in spite of my shame, I'm calling your name. Please reclaim me from the might of the crocodile's bite. When I'm released from the teeth of the croc, block ignorance from my life and lock me into devotional service. Let my purpose rise once again to the surface. Lord, I'm knocking at the door. Please keep me close from now till evermore. When the Lord heard the eloquent prayers of the elephant, he steered Garuda to the spot, and with his chakra, he sheared the croc's head from his body. When the reptile lay dead and Gajendra was shed of his dread, he resumed the thread of his prayers and said, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When students come for the first time on an assignment, such as they did last night, they almost inevitably ask, what's the significance of the touching the flame? What's the significance of the ceremony? And what are the things that you offer to the Lord? With our hands in the ceremony, which is called arti, we ring the bell with one hand, the left hand, and then we offer incense, we offer flame, we offer water, handkerchief, flower, and then we fan the Lord in the wintertime with yak's tail. In the summertime, we add the peacock feather fan with it. It's offering back to the Lord what the Lord has created and what the Lord owns. It creates a complete ACDC, giving and receiving cycle. This is basically what Gajendra is doing as he's plucking the lotus flower from the muck of the lake with his trunk. He doesn't have hands to do the offering, so his trunk acts as his hand. Whatever we do with our hands, the elephant will do, not with hands, but with his trunk. Therefore, as I mentioned before, the elephant is called hasti or hati, and that means one whose hands are his trunk. In the same way that we offer the flower with our right hand as the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth item during arti, Gajendra, with his trunk, he's offering the lotus flower up into the sky. So what's unequivocal? What's the statement which is being made here by Gajendra's actions? Gajendra's an elephant. He has certain physical limitations, can't do all the things that human beings do. But what can he do? What can any living being do? They can offer heartfeltedly to the best of their ability with whatever limbs or appendages they have. They can offer the flower of their devotion to the other, to the other. There's the worshiper and then there's the worshipable. There's the giver, there's the receiver, there's the part, there's the whole, there's the Lord, and there's the servant. Ekara Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabha Brita. There's one supreme person, and it's not you, it's not me. We are spirit. We share that in common with God, but he's the supreme spirit, and we're infinitesimal spirits. So we cannot claim to be one in quantity, at least with God. Qualitatively, we're one, but we're just like little items of gold, half an ounce, tenth of an ounce of gold. God is like the gold mine, unlimitedly, incalculably powerful and wealthy and valuable. But please do not make the mistake of thinking that you're God, or of aspiring to become God, or merging with God, or becoming indistinguishable with God. Even though he's an elephant, what Gajendra is doing here is preaching unequivocally, unambiguously, that there are, in order for there to be love, there needs to be two, not just one. Don't mistake us for what we call the impersonalists, who they may do arti, they may have deities in their home, they may offer arti, but their motive is at some point they believe the differentiation, the distinguishing features, the qualities of the deity will dissolve. There will be sort of this undifferentiated, homogeneous force field into which we will merge and no longer experience ourselves as sentient individuals. It's not so different from Buddhism. Buddhism believes in nothingness, that everything will come to nothing. The impersonalists from the Indian cultural tradition, they believe that there's spirit, but that spirit is not categorical, it's undifferentiated, it's homogeneous, and we merge into it. And the favorite example, I'm sure most of you have heard of it, people talk about our being a drop of water, and after liberation we'll merge with the drop of water and become one. Gajendra's plucking a flower and offering it above is indisputable evidence that he's offering his individual love to another individual who's supreme, setting up reciprocity. Aham bhakta paradina hiyashatadira shadabara bhaktir janabara. Krishna himself says that he is focused on his devotees. There's a whole material and spiritual universes which are managed by Krishna's various incarnations, Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, millions and millions of expansions of these personalities. And yet, in all of that, Krishna is focused on his devotees. None of that captures the attention of Krishna nearly as much as what are my devotees doing? What are my devotees doing? Krishna fawns on his devotee. If you offend a devotee, Krishna gets into God himself, who is the ultimate cool, who's the ultimate calm, who knows past, present, and future, is in the heart of every living being. He gets upset. He gets hysterical when anyone ever threatens his devotees. So this is the essence of Indian spirituality. Don't make no mistake about it. This is not some sentimentalist dumbing down of an impersonal, philosophical, intellectual exercise. This is the bottom line, that you are a person and God is a person. In order for there to be love, there has to be an interpersonal relationship. An interpersonal relationship. Jesus, it seems obvious to me from my traditional, was not God. In spite of the claims, major portion of Christianity, Jesus is not God. He doesn't say he's God. He never claims to be God. He claims to be the Son, the servant, the part and parcel of one who sent him, of one who's greater than him, of one at whose table he will sit when he returns back to his Father's mansion and resumes his rightful place at the table. I don't know how in all of that you come up with Jesus is God. Because in doing so, you you pull up your you pitch your tent in the camp of the impersonalists. You can talk all you want about having a personal relationship with Jesus, but having a personal relationship with Jesus means recognizing that Jesus has a personal relationship with Krishna or some other name of God, whatever name you want to do it, but there is another. And Jesus is motivated by love and service and surrender to come down to this material world, to get nailed on the cross, to undergo so many tortures and miseries and frustrations in terms of taking ground for God in this material world. And there's only one explanation of why he's always up and he's always enthusiastic, in spite of the dullness of his constituents, in spite of being tortured, in spite of being crucified. He's still enthusiastic. He's still upbeat. He's still expectant, because he's doing this as a labor of love for Krishna. Or if you don't like to use the word Krishna, Jehovah, Emmanuel, Adam, but an other who is supreme. I remember in Australia one time, Australia is, they have this one, I mean, it may be different nowadays, but when I was in Australia from 1995, it seemed like Australians could only say this one thing like parrots. So it was the only thing they could say about the Hare Krishnas. Why don't you get a job, mate? Why don't you get a job? It was like, it just seemed to bother them so much that we weren't plugged into the establishment. You know what I'm saying? But finally, I forget who it was talking to Prabhupada. In a more polite way, he asked the same question. Well, do you Hare Krishna's work? Prabhupada looked at him. He said, do we work? Are you seriously asking whether we work? I'm an old man. I'm in my late 70s. And every 3 or 4 days, I'm getting on a plane, going across the world. I'm getting off the plane. And in spite of going through different time zones, in spite of the toll that such travel takes on the body, wherever I am, I'm up at, I'm translating from, midnight till 3 o'clock in the morning, after greeting people all day long, after giving public lectures, after corresponding, after working on my books. I go to sleep for maybe 3, 4 hours a night. I get up, I go for a walk with my disciples. I preach to my disciples during the walk. I go back to the local temple for greeting the deities and Guru Puja. I give a 1 hour Bhagavatam class. Then I go back to my room, and then I'm going out for a public speaking engagement. And when I come back in the afternoon, I have a little lunch, and then my door is opened for anyone who wants to come to see me. My devotees, I'm a counselor, I'm a father, I'm an uncle, I'm a friend of my devotees. My door is open to local clerics or businessmen or writers or literatures or scientists. And in all of that, he translated and published, 80, 600-page books. Prabhupada said, and you're asking if we work? Excuse me? My disciples are up at 4:30 in the morning singing and dancing. They go out to schools and colleges and distribute books and chant. They cook, they distribute prasadam. In India, our Food for Life program feeds 2 million school kids a midday meal every day. Name me another organization who does that. 2 million school kids fed a hot midday meal day after day after day. If you're asking, do we work? And then Prabhupada came to his point. He says, we work harder than you. You couldn't keep up with us. Here's the punchline. But we do not toil. We work harder than you, but we don't do any toiling. Why? Because it's a labor of love. It's a labor of love. We do what we do out of love. And that carries us. That enables us. It powers us to do what others couldn't do. It keeps a smile on our face, even when people are torturing us and criticizing us and demeaning us and ridiculing us. we've still got a smile on our face because we know that we're being faithful. We're taking ground for the kingdom, and we're doing to the best of our ability the work of the Lord in this material world. Our Father art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So those who take it upon themselves to canvas on earth that God's will be done, that God's purposes be served. There are none who are more dear to the Lord than those. And amongst all the millions and millions of creatures that are spread throughout the material and spiritual worlds, the ones that are most on God's radar screen, he's not unaware of anyone, he's in everyone's heart. But the ones who are front and center in God's radar screen are those who are preaching, those who are preaching, those who do the Rath Yatra festivals, those who perfect their kirtan skills, those who dance to glorify the Lord, those who cook and distribute prasadam, and I may be so bold as to say, those who preach directly through the mouth to the public with the aim of awakening the dormant love of God, which is there in everyone's heart. So that's a good note to end on, don't you think? All right. Thanks. Got a good group here, and I got inspired. I don't know who was doing it, but throughout the whole talk there, a lot of hearts are going up and thumbs up, and well, thank you very much for that. I need support after Brent got so many kudos last night. I need I need a little reassurance here that I'm still in the game. I'm just kidding. I give a talk. Honestly, it doesn't matter whether anyone says anything or not. I don't really care. I don't need that. It's nice to have it. It might make you, learn a few more slokas or practice a little bit more, try to sharpen your sword. But honestly, it's the service is more than satisfying. So many times on Sunday, I'll be going from table to table, asking people if they have any questions, uh, multiple times, both in Salt Lake City and here at Raleigh, or some Andrew will come up and you want something to eat, please let me serve you a plate. And I don't want to eat. I don't want to slow down. I don't want to sit down. I want to go and preach. I want to answer people's questions from table to table. And I'm getting more satisfaction from that. I can eat later. I can eat what's left over. I can eat when people go, or I don't even have to eat, because honestly, preaching is so sublime that it can, if you get the opportunity to preach, hunger, the perception of hunger is not even an issue. And everybody on our thread here, I'm sure, has experienced that in one shape or form or time or another. So let's start at the bottom here. Govinda Dev says, apparently it's only work for some if you hate your job. Yes. Working and toiling. Devotees work 24 hours a day, but they don't toil even 1 minute a day, because whatever they do out of love. Govinda Dev also writes here, Jesus is adamant. His position is to serve his heavenly Father. They are one in purpose, but Father and Son. Yeah, if you don't get this, that there are two and they're in love with each other. The Father is in love with the Son, Jesus, and the Son is in love with the Father. If you don't see in your Judeo-Christianity that there are two people, and that the most important feature about these two is that they are head over heels in love with each other, then I respectfully submit to you, you need to get another vision. You need to graduate. You need to go to the next level. Okay, next we have Govinda Dev is clapping and appreciating Brent. Brent talks up at the Salt Lake City temple as well, so they're familiar with him. Govinda Dev also, the curse of consistently excellent preaching is that when you give another outstanding talk, no one seems to notice. Thank you for the endless waterfall of transcendental teaching. Well, if my ego needed a little bit of boost, that was it. Thank you, Govind. I guess I was hinting for something like that all along. But Govinda is such a gentleman, a human being. Over and over again, I'm reminded of the high-mindedness of Govinda. And here's just one more example of it. I'll read that once again, if you don't mind. Sounds good to me. Sounds really good to me. The curse of consistently excellent preaching is that when you give another outstanding talk, no one seems to notice. Thank you for the endless waterfall of transcendental teaching. Thank you for those words, Govinda. Whenever I have any self-doubts, I will write those on the back of my hand. I will get that tattooed on my upper arm. Patrick Kelly comments with the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thanks for joining us, Patrick. Married to Melissa Kelly. Knows Taran Bhagat. Taran's local, so maybe Patrick's local too. John Malik says, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Yes. Recognize your talent and then associate with people who have like talent. Let them challenge you, let them feed you. And then work on it. Sharpen. Become better and better and better and better at what you're already naturally good at. Thank you, John. William Griffith, pranams from Los Angeles. Divya Joshi. Govinda Dev says, great news regarding parking. Yes, we're meeting tomorrow, and we should get that signed agreement. And then I've been waiting for over 2 weeks now. Everything's been in suspended animation. I haven't been able to complete our application to the police because we didn't have enough parking spots. So hopefully, wish us luck that everything goes well tomorrow morning when Bai and I meet with the representative of the property owners there, get our last piece that we need to submit to the police department, the Utah County Sheriff's. Namamrita, Haribo Prabhuji, thanks for joining Bobby. Lakshmi Nashringa from afar, thank you. Boca Raton, Florida, I think. Okay, and Rob, are you still there? Would you like to share with us what your realizations have been today?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry, my screen wasn't working.
That's fine. We'll wait a few seconds for your drops of nectar eagerly.
All right. Krishna keeps us on our toes. What
Hey,
comes next?
by the way, several people in Utah and Phoenix, they mentioned that they listen to our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday talks, and they also mentioned that they love hearing your verses. So I just wanted to share that with you. Phoenix, you're known in Phoenix, Arizona, my man.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad it's helping them. Okay. Krishna keeps us on our toes. What comes next? Only he knows.
Oh, wonderful.
Devotees don't shirk transcendental work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we carry out a labor of love for the Lord above.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Hare
Three verses, everyone eloquent, beautiful, sublime, and entirely to the point. Okay, we're glad to have spent some time with you. It's almost been an hour. I'm sure you have all kinds of devotional things to do throughout the day. So I'll take your leave. We'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.